You are watching Maximus Aviation.
Mr. Calhoun, let's put it very bluntly. 346 people died because of a faulty control system, the MCAS system, that Boeing knew was going to cause a crash at some point, correct?
I would not say the latter part of that sentence.
People at Boeing knew.
There was a judgment that was made by ourselves, our design engineers, and the certification process that could never happen, but it did.
Well, now you're going to make me really angry because the evidence shows, in fact, that the engineers working on this plane knew that that faulty control system drove the nose down under certain circumstances, and pilots, in fact, Lions Air and Ethiopian Air struggled to lift that nose as the plane plummeted toward the sea, and they couldn't do it because they didn't know what was happening, and the reason they didn't know what was happening is Boeing concealed it. They concealed it from the FAA, and therefore, Boeing was charged with defrauding the United States of America. And the prosecution was deferred because Boeing paid a fine, but no individual was held accountable. In my view, and I said it at the time, individuals should be held accountable for those deaths. Don't you agree?
Senator, it's wrong for me to reinvestigate an investigation that was
I'm not talking about reinvestigating.
And
I'm talking about a judgment. We're here about accountability. It is a moment of reckoning for Boeing that will help Boeing in the long run, because the only way to course correct is to face the truth and confront the need for action. And I'm asking you, shouldn't individuals be held accountable, individuals who are still at Boeing and who may be in positions of responsibility now?
Senator Blumenthal, we are responsible. We are responsible. The Department of Justice and the Boeing team and all the investigations and all the judgments that were ultimately taken, I'm not here to second guess them.
Only one individual was ever criminally prosecuted, a pilot. He was acquitted. And I'm saying to you, and I'm saying to the Department of Justice, individuals should be held accountable, because that's the only way that deterrence works. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir. I believe strongly in accountability.
Now, Boeing paid a criminal fine of $243 million, correct?
I don't know the precise number, but I assume that's correct.
You must know the precise number. You're the CEO of the company. It only happened 5 years ago.
5 years ago, and I
4 years ago.
Yep.
Boeing paid $243 million in a criminal penalty. It paid $500 million to the families who lost loved ones in the MAX crashes, and it paid $1.77 billion in compensation to airline customers. Those numbers correct?
Yes.
As to any of those amounts that were paid, was Boeing insured?
I don't have a precise number for you.
You don't have a precise number, but Boeing was insured.
Probably.
Therefore, Boeing didn't have to pay
Probably.
large amounts. Do you know how much?
I don't know the net amount, sir.
Let me ask you this. Did Boeing take tax deductions on any of those amounts to reduce the impact to the company?
And I don't have the answer to that either, sir.
You don't have the answer as the CEO of the company? I find that hard to believe.
I don't, sir.
Well, I would suggest that the prosecution that is, in my view, almost certainly to result from the investigation underway, and I say again, as former federal prosecutor and state attorney general, I think that the evidence is near overwhelming to justify that prosecution, that there ought to be individual accountability and amounts that really reflect the harm done that are not deductible, as those amounts were. And I would like you to report back to this committee as to what amounts were deducted and how much of those penalties and payments were covered by insurance. Will you commit to do that?
I will do that.
John Barnett went through 2 days of deposition. Have you read his deposition?
Yes, yes.
What was your reaction?
Heartbroken.
Well, it was heartbreaking, that's for sure, but did it cause you to want to take some action against those employees who put pressure on him and threatened him?
Senator, now this was considerably before my time. I do know that that process was taken up by the governing authorities and was looked into, and they came out with a determination that I know nobody's satisfied with in the Barnett family, and I understand that, and I understand why. But it did go through a process, and I know the family will take exception to that process, and I understand it.
You said you've listened to the whistleblowers. Have you directly spoken to any of the whistleblowers?
I have not directly spoken to any of the whistleblowers.
Do you think that'd be a good idea to do that?
Yeah, I think it would.